Hey everybody, welcome to Landscape Rescue. My name's Stuart Moore, this is Lowe's. How about we go look at some plants and do a shopping video? Okay, I know we're gonna do a shopping video, but first, I gotta get some cuddles. I wanted to thank you guys for all of your likes and all of your subscribes and all of your best wishes and welcoming me back to YouTube. I got this ADHD brain, I've had it all my life. It's really difficult for me to sit down and edit video because I have to sit down and edit video. The only thing that gives me that dopamine is your comments and your likes and your subscribes and watching the channel grow. So I really do appreciate it. You guys literally are the only reason that I do this. Some of the comments are standing out to me and I want to answer those questions. That's one of the great things about doing videos so often and having time to devote to the channel. Some of the comments are asking questions like, I have a lot of deer. I need privacy. What do I do in this particular situation? And it's very difficult from the landscape design aspect, not standing in somebody's backyard. I'm sure there's people that do a lot of landscaping via Google Maps and things like that. I cut my teeth in, hey, let me come to your yard, what's your address? And then I just go out there and I help people. When you work for a landscape company, that's what we did back in the day. Now there's so many tools and so many different ways to do it. I'm just not versed in those. It's difficult for me and I feel somewhat helpless because like I said, I really like to help people. Unfortunately, the only thing I know how to do is plants and combat, but whatever. One of the comments was about deer, and I wanted to show you guys some Melorganite. Melorganite, it's human-generated fertilizer. It puts that human scent out into the environment, and it makes the deer go, eh. Not only that, but it's great for our plants, right? You can't overuse it. I would fling it out there with a come-and-go cup. Down at Affinity Estates, there is a really large deer population, and they've been cultivated for the 40 years that place has been in existence, that they can just go up and they can just eat whatever they want. Nobody's deterred them. For the past 3 years, I've been using a biosolid. It wasn't Melorganite, that's a name brand. I'm just using a biosolid. It's called Thrive Biosolid, remember correctly. I've got to go look at the bag, but I bought it at Site One because I used to work there at the time. The wholesale price was like $14 for a 50-pound bag, and then I go mess around in Lowe's and it's like $25 for a 25-pound bag, and it's like $1 a pound. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's not like we're not generating dookie to make this stuff out of. You know, they put a lot of marketing on the bag and everything and they make it seem really fancy, but in all actuality, it's just Melorganite. It's just a biosolid. A really good friend of mine, her name's Johnny with Johnny Floyd Designs here in the Ozarks, and she told me, and she has more customers than she ever needs, so I'm not throwing out her name to drum up some business for her. But she gave me a really good tip that if you use Melorganite on your annuals, the deer won't eat your annuals because that Melorganite puts that human scent out in the air and they don't want anything to do with it. Now you know about Melorganite or a biosolid. So biosolid, you can call up any Site One and ask them, do they carry a biosolid? And if they know what they're talking about, they're gonna tell you, yeah, I've got our biosolid is the equivalent to Melorganite, but it's $15 for a 50-pound bag, do that, right? You don't care about all the marketing. I just told you all the marketing that you need for that, right? You don't need a fancy bag. You just need a bag that says biosolid on it. Now you can start having panicle hydrangeas at your house, whoever you may be. So one of my favorite deer-resistant plants to plant is the daffodil. They have some hyacinth mixed in here. There's some tulips mixed in here. See that little tulip guy right there? That is like a bonbon for deer. They are gonna wanna eat that tulip. They are not gonna touch the daffodil. Daffodils, unlike tulips, are generational. You plant this with one of your grandkids, when they have grandkids, these daffodils are probably still gonna be in that same spot. Daffodils are a great investment. And they pair really nice with things like, let's see, like a white Forsythia would be a nice pairing. Dwarf Fuji cherries would be really pretty. The dwarf Fuji cherry in front of my house, the dwarf Fuji cherries at Affinity Estates all have daffodils kind of around them, because not only do I love daffodils, not only did I work at a nursery that would try to throw away daffodils. If no one sold them by February, they were throwing them away, and I was just planting them like Johnny Appleseed around the place, you know, because they were free. They're actually pretty inexpensive. I like to order my daffodils online. Like summertime, you can order daffodils, 250 pack, of daffodils, a big bag of 250 daffodils, which seems like a lot, but I've got a particular technique that I use where I use my 9-inch power planter auger and I drill a hole and then I just pop daffodils in. We should probably do a video about that because it goes so fast. 250 daffodils just kind of disappear. And I do them in clumps, and it's very, very easy to use. I do that. This might be a waste of money, because if we break down actually how many bulbs are in here, it's not really that great of a deal. The issue is, this is for the folks that just want a little pop of color, and they're willing to pay for it. Instant gratification, remember we talked about that. The profit margins have to be insane on these, because there's literally probably maybe $3 worth of bulbs in here. If you want the pop of color, you're good to go. You could do something like this, but just think about it in the future, ordering your daffodils in the summer and then picking them up in the fall. Usually that's how a lot of these programs work. We had a program just like that in Site 1. People could order in bulbs, and then when it's time to plant bulbs, the bulbs all come in. I'd give them a call. Hey, your bulbs are in. Yeah, worked out pretty good, and they'll do that for you too. All right, I can't not stop and look at these Dianthus. I don't know about you guys' neck in the woods, but this type of Dianthus has always been perennial for me. I've always had really good luck with these coming back. You got 12 of them in these little packets here, and I think they're so cute. $14, so it's $13.98 for this little packet here. It's about $1 a piece. Where do we get perennials for $1 a piece? You know, well, I guess clearance, but we're not doing clearance yet. They haven't had a chance to beat the snot out of any of this stuff yet. I mean, it's coming. Don't get me wrong. We're going to have plenty of clearance to talk about here pretty soon, especially if it stays as dry as it. Are you guys as dry on other parts of the country as we are here? It's been a very dry beginning, you know, to the spring. So we had a good winter. We had some snow, relatively mild temperatures for our area, but as far as rain goes this spring, I mean, we've gone, I think it's rained like maybe once or twice this month, like just not enough. With the high winds that we've been getting for a week straight, today has settled down a little bit. It's not windy at all today, which is nice, but these high winds, they dry out that soil. Pretty impressed with that. I like that. Yeah, give them some juice, give them some Dr. Earth Gold, and let them go to town. So we're finding some Dianthus in the 1 gallon here. Now this is Beauty's Rebecca Dianthus. It is, it's not a cross with anything. It's just a regular Dianthus, but it's got this really pretty pink color. And then they've got a white version over here. You know how I love that contrast. And this is Beauty's Annabelle Dianthus. So these are really cute. I like them a lot. They're sitting over here with the Candy Tuft right here. So we got the Candy Tuft also just right next to them. Now there's some other Candy Tuft. I don't understand why Lowe's does it like this. My brain does not understand why there's Candy Tuft over there and there's Candy Tuft over here. Like my brain just doesn't work like that. Why there's Dianthus right here and there's Dianthus over here and there's Dianthus over there, even though they're in different sizes. Like my nurseryman brain wants to just put all the Dianthus together, all the columbine together for utility, because I'm just used to just having to go into a garden center and just pick out all my plants and go, because I got guys at the job waiting for the plants. It's a little, retail is just this different environment. And I thrive in that environment too, but I like order. How pretty is this bonfire peach? It's a patio peach. I don't really know what that means, except for I'll use my context clues. It's a peach that goes on the patio. I should learn more about them. We had a couple at the old nursery that I used to work at. I don't know, just kind of sat around like nobody bought them. So it says the average height of this is 5 by 5. And I've been exposed to bonfire peaches before, but like I said, in the nursery setting, I've never really used them for landscaping. It would be really pretty, but 5 by 5, zone 5. I mean, if peaches are native to China, they're kind of in our zone. I mean, it's like anything, you know, it's a big country just like our country is big, but a lot of the stuff that is native to China and Japan, we can grow them here in my zone. Look at how tightly budded this thing is. Man, that would really be a pretty bonsai if you could figure out how to do that. Nope. No bonsai for me. I do not have time for another hobby. Weeping Yoshino. Look for it to get to about 7 feet tall, 7 to 8 feet tall, maybe 10 feet wide. You could use this as an anchor. It would be I like to use the Weeping Snow Fountain Cherry as an anchor. This one isn't as tall as I would like it. In the ground, it's going to come up to about my chest, and I'm 6 foot tall. Eventually, I'll stop telling you guys that, because then you'll just know I'm 6 foot tall, and then I'll say it's going to come up to my chest, so just subtract 1.5 feet, 2 feet, and you'll be good to go. If you need some height out of your weeping trees, you take this branch here, see this one that's weeping down, and you're just going to stake it up, okay? And you can do something cool when you stake it. You can put a little twist into it. This is how they would do a serpentine. And this was going to be your new central leader, right? So you could just stake this up like this, and look, these young limbs are pliable enough, you could get some height out of it if you wanted to get that full length. What it's typically going to do for you is it's just going to kind of continue to weep and just continue to build its way up. You don't want anything growing below the graft. You'll notice if it's growing below the graft, it will probably go straight up into the air, right? A lot of times when they get damaged, they'll panic grow. They'll do some stuff below the graft because now it's getting sunlight there, because now it doesn't have the branches. But all you've got to do is just stake one of these weeping branches and then give it some time to thicken up so it holds. And then each one of these little tiny buds are going to produce a branch that's going to weep down, right? So just know that you're not stuck with a weeping cherry that's only going to be 4.5 feet tall. Now this one looks like it is in a 5-gallon pot, and it's $41.98. That's a really good deal, guys. Forsythia, blooming for a lot of us right now in a lot of different zones. Now this is the Show Off by Proven Winners, and there is a smaller version of this. So this one's going to get, it's kind of a big boy, 5 to 6. Yeah, 5 to 6 feet tall and wide. Not as nuts, but still kind of nuts. Like, that's the size of a grown-ass man. It's a big boy. There is one called Starlet by Proven Winners, Show Off Starlet. So it's part of that Show Off series that does really well. It's only like 3 foot tall. Now we're starting to use this in different places in the landscape because we're not worried about it overpowering the space. When do we prune these? We prune these right after they get done flowering because they set their buds on the previous year's growth. So this is not new growth. This is old growth, right, from last year. So somebody took really good care of them. But if you can look where it's blooming, right? It's blooming right here. That's because they trimmed these maybe a little later than they should have, and you got this much growth out of them, right? So this is the growth that didn't have time to set buds. Some nurseries will do it different. A lot of the times when a nursery is pruning something, it's based on how much square footage they have. They have to prune it. They're getting too big. They have to cram more plants in that area because every square foot in an actual growing operation is almost priceless. You got some phlox here. You guys know how much I love phlox. Doesn't have necessarily a long bloom time. I get that's the frustrating thing with phlox, but it's evergreen. It's going to help control erosion. It's going to help your topsoil not wash away in the winter. I like phlox. I like phlox, and for $6.98, it's not a bad price. Like literally, guys, that's full retail. The neat thing about phlox is you can lift phlox up off the ground. So I know it looks like it's all stuck to the ground. It's not really. So if you have a piece of grass punching through your phlox and it's driving you nuts because it makes your flower beds look a little unkept, I understand. Lift up that foliage, kind of flop it over, and then go in there and pull that grass out. Or make sure you put down a good pre-emergent about every 3 months to kind of keep that at bay. I'll sometimes lift up the phlox, put down my pre-emergent, and put down like a 13 slow release fertilizer because I like to push phlox during the growing season when they're done blooming. I like to push them because the more growth I can get on them now means that they're going to have a lot more flowers the following year. So it's really an investment. You're cultivating that blanket of color, and they come in an array of flowers. There's some purples. There's the scarlet. There's a red one. There's an all white one. There's a white one, which is the one I just had, that's got a little pink. See, it's got a little pink center to it, a little pink throat. We sleep on phlox because phlox is kind of like an old lady plant. It's popular for a reason. Hellebore, like I'm gonna be able to walk past Hellebore and not say something. It's like insults my manliness to walk past these and not be like, what's up, girl? Hellebore, look how beautiful this is. Now, this would definitely not be a 1 gallon, this would be a number 1. You're not gonna be disappointed, but $21 that's a lot. That's a lot. And if you're just learning, don't ever worry about that, because I'm still learning. The more you learn about plants, this might be a little demoralizing, but the more you learn about plants, the more you have no idea what's going on with plants. The struggle is real. All right, y'all, you balling on a budget? You didn't get any bare root lilies this year? 6 stargazer lilies for $11. Not a bad idea at all. This is an investment in your landscaping is what it is. Now, I love how stargazers look. Stargazers might need a little staking from time to time because they get a little lazy. Those flowers have been bred to be big and giant and beautiful, but somebody forgot about the stems they sit on. But I'm a big fan of the stargazer, and I will move heaven and earth to make sure that something that looks like this has a sturdy support structure to support that flower. All right, another really good bare root idea is getting your hostas bare root. So again, $11 for 4 hostas. Not a horrible deal. You're gonna have to do a little investing in something like this, but this would be a lot less expensive because you're only gonna have to do this for about this year and then wait 3 years, and then you're gonna have all the albo marginatas you'll ever want. So I suggest you mix it up a little bit. Might feel goofy in the beginning, buying 1 bag of each type of hosta, but then once you're starting to separate stuff and you're growing your own plants, right? You're propagating your own plants, you don't need lows anymore. And you probably won't need me anymore once you get it all figured out, but this is a good deal. This is a smart way if you're balling on a budget, like all of us are balling on a budget. I'm just too lazy to do that. Okay, you know why we're in this section, right? We're gonna talk about soil amendments real quick. So the Dr. Earth all-purpose fertilizer has endo and ecto mycorrhizal fungi and beneficial bacteria. It's $11. Okay, so it went up $1. This is Dr. Earth azalea, camellia, rhododendron, and maple food. It's $13. It has endo and ecto mycorrhizal fungi in it. The funniest part about it is azaleas and rhododendrons don't have a relationship with endo and ecto mycorrhizal fungi. So if I was going to feed my azaleas and my rhododendrons, I would probably go with Hollytone, just because I've experimented with Hollytone and I love it, and it only has beneficial bacteria, which azaleas and rhododendrons do have a relationship with. So I'm not introducing mycorrhizal fungi into an area that it's not going to be beneficial to the plants that I'm trying for it to benefit. Adversely, if you're trying to grow anything other than azaleas, rhododendrons, blueberries, you know, the 5% of the plants in the world that don't have a relationship with mycorrhizal fungi, you could go with, if I am planting that stuff, I don't want to use any of the Espoma products other than the all-purpose Espoma that has endo and ecto mycorrhizal fungi. Does that make sense? I'm going to go with Dr. Earth. So Dr. Earth has what I need for 95% of my plants. If we're doing azaleas and rhododendrons, I go with Hollytone. The irony is holly do have a relationship with beneficial fungus. So then if I'm doing hollies, I would go back to the Dr. Earth Gold all-purpose because it has mycorrhiza in it. This sounds really confusing coming out of my mouth. I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me on Landscape Rescue. My name's Stuart Moore, and I do appreciate you letting me into your home to talk about plants.